From the 16th to the 18th centuries, maps were full of errors, some based on myths, some on bad theories, and others on misunderstood geography. This video will cover 8 of my favorites. Let's begin. Old maps of North America show an inland sea called the Appalachian Salt Lake. Multiple Native Americans told English explorer John Smith while he was captured that the sea was only a 5 to 8 days walk away. John Smith created manuscript maps and a written description which suggested the sea could be reached by a river at around the 40th parallel, and then connected to the Pacific Ocean. He sent this information to one of his close friends and fellow explorer Henry Hudson, who desperately wanted to find a quick passage to Asia. When the letters arrived, Hudson was staying at the home of a prominent Dutch cartographer, Jodocus Hondius, who then created these maps based off the letters and manuscripts. Hudson tried to find the sea and the river around the 40th. He didn't find the sea, but did find a river just north of the 40th. That river became known as the Hudson River. 16th century maps show this giant landmass in the southern hemisphere, but Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until 1820, and Australia wasn't known to Europeans until 1606. This is Terra Australis. Terra Australis was conceptualized over 2,000 years ago by the ancient Greeks. This land had never actually been seen, but the standard belief of the Greeks was that the Earth must be symmetrical, and that if the south didn't have as much landmass as the north, the land-heavy north would somehow just topple over. It was also believed that Terra Australis could not be reached because the water separating the north and south was unnavigable and infested by beasts, and that even if the waters were safe, the area around the equator was too hot to pass through. It would take until the late 18th century for Terra Australis to stop appearing on maps. California was an island on maps for 250 years. The island goes back to a 1510 Spanish novel which stated, "To the right of the Indies there is an island called California, and its inhabitants were black women, without a single man." When Spanish explorers landed on the tip of this peninsula in the 1530s, they named it California without confirming it was actually an island. It was soon proven to be a peninsula, but the name stuck. However, decades later, a Carmelite friar, still convinced it was an island, drew a theoretical map of the island of California, and it was found by Dutch pirates when raiding his ship. Believing this was a Spanish secret, they brought it back home where it was copied and published by some of the best mapmakers in the Netherlands, and other countries followed suit. It took multiple expeditions in the 18th century and the Spanish king issuing a royal decree for mapmakers to finally stop. Its last appearance on a map was in Japan in 1865. This 1540 map by Sebastian Münster reflects the exploration by Giovanni da Verrazzano, an Italian explorer sent in 1523 by Francis King to explore the eastern coast of what is now the United States and Canada, with the primary goal of finding a sea route to the Pacific Ocean. That spring, Verrazzano believed he found what he was looking for. In a letter to Francis I, Verrazzano wrote, "We found there an isthmus 1 mile wide and about 200 miles long, in which we could see the eastern sea from the ship, halfway between west and north. This is doubtless the one which goes around the tip of India, China, and Cathay." However, Verrazzano was unable to find an inlet to sail through and confirm what he believed he was looking at. He and his crew were actually looking at Pamlico Sound in the modern-day U.S. state of North Carolina, not the Pacific Ocean. The existence of giants here is confirmed. This was written in a letter to the French Academy of Sciences in 1766 by Dr. Matthew Matty, the secretary of the British Royal Society. He was referring to the confirmation of giants at the southern end of South America by English explorer John Byron, but reports of giants in this part of the world went back more than 2 centuries to Ferdinand Magellan's voyage. One man on the voyage wrote, "One day we saw a man of giant stature on the shore of the port dancing, singing, and throwing dust on his head. When the giant was in the captain general's and our presence, he marveled greatly and made signs with one finger raised upwards, believing that we had come from the sky. He was so tall that we reached only to his waist." Magellan named these giants Patagons. Pata means the foot of an animal in Spanish. This is where the name Patagonia comes from. But the most likely explanation? The native people that lived in the area, averaging 6 feet tall, towering over the 5'5" Europeans, may have fueled the myth. No credible archaeological evidence of giants in the area has ever been found. Sir Francis Drake's nephew perhaps put it best. Magellan was not altogether deceived, but the Spaniards did not think an Englishman would come to reprove them. For centuries, maps of the Americas depicted an island in the Gulf called Bermeja, but it's missing from modern maps. Bermeja first appeared on a 1539 map. A year later, a conquistador provided its coordinates and described it as blondish or reddish. Despite no confirmed sightings, Bermeja continued appearing on maps for centuries. The island was largely forgotten until 1997, when the U.S. and Mexico negotiated oil rights in the Gulf. Exclusive economic zones, or EEZs, extend 200 miles from a country's coast, but gaps, or donut holes, left unclaimed oil-rich areas. If Bermeja existed, Mexico's EEZ would extend farther north and into one of these gaps. Mexico sent a Navy vessel to confirm the island's location, but found only open ocean. In 2009, a research team from the University of Mexico scanned the seafloor and conducted aerial surveys, but still found nothing. Some theories suggest Bermeja was submerged by rising sea levels, or earthquakes, but experts ruled these out. In the year 2000, Mexican senators accused the U.S. of deliberately destroying the island, possibly with a hydrogen bomb. A Mexican politician who pushed for further investigation died in a mysterious car crash, fueling conspiracy theories. Geographers argue the island likely never existed. False islands were common on old maps due to errors, misidentifications, or deliberate misinformation. Others believe Bermeja exists, just in a different location. In the 16th century, some maps of the Arctic depict 4 large landmasses surrounding a polar sea, with a massive magnetic mountain at the center called Rupes Nigra, Latin for Black Rock. These maps were inspired by ancient legends of a northern land called Hyperborea, described by Greek writers as a mystical region beyond the north wind. It was said to be home to giants who lived for 1,000 years and enjoyed a moderate climate despite being in the Arctic. The more specific Arctic geography, like the 4 islands and central whirlpool, can be traced to a lost book called Inventio Fortunata, written by a 14th century Franciscan friar who claimed to have explored the region for the English crown. His account was later summarized and passed to Gerardus Mercator, who described a central magnetic mountain and a whirlpool pulling in the surrounding seas. By the 1630s, this vision of the Arctic disappeared from maps, as exploration increased and new theories emerged. For over 500 years, maps showed an island west of Ireland called Hy Brasil, a mysterious place said to appear only once every 7 years. According to Irish legend, it was a paradise ruled by King Breasail, where people lived in eternal happiness. Hy Brasil first appeared on a map in 1325 and kept showing up, even during the age of exploration. Sailors claimed to see it, but when they sailed to its location, there was nothing. In 1497, English merchant John Day wrote that Bristol sailors had found it. In 1674, Captain John Nisbet claimed he landed there, saw black rabbits and a magician in a castle, and was told the island's spell had been broken. Another man said he was kidnapped, returned, and later developed the power to heal, thanks to a book he was given on the island. But by the 1800s, the belief faded. Cartographers began labeling it as a myth or just a rock. Some think it was a mirage, a lost island, or just a sailor's tale. Its last well-known sighting was in 1872 by an Irish folklorist. And that's all for this video. If this video was interesting to you, I have longer videos for each map. They can be found in the linked playlist. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.